Welcome back to Empower ND Podcast. This podcast creates space for honest conversations about health, well-being, and community resources to help people in southwestern North Dakota live healthy, full lives. The Empower ND Podcast is produced by Women Empowering Women, a nonprofit organization dedicated to connecting, supporting, and educating women to help them become the best versions of themselves. To become a member or learn more, visit wewnetwork.org. Today, I'm excited to be joined by Michelle Massey, who will share her insights on all things postpartum. Let's get started. Michelle, can you introduce yourself?
My name is Michelle Massey. I'm an RN by trade. I've been a nurse for about 15 years. And for the last couple of years, I have been working alongside with Women Empowering Women on a couple different avenues. One of them is a program called ROSE, which stands for Reach Out, Stay Strong Essentials. It's a program for pregnant moms as a preventive for postpartum depression. And then another one is called Postpartum Together, and that's a program for moms that we do monthly through Women Empowering Women. So I'm studying to become a certified postpartum educator. I'm a nurse, and I'm actually also a birth doula, alongside with being a mom of 4. So
awesome. My background is in labor and delivery, so it's kind of right up my wheelhouse.
Love it. I actually worked for a little over a year in OB in Michigan prior to moving to North Dakota.
Nice. Okay, so let's get started with postpartum period. We hear a lot about postpartum recovery, but what does recovery actually look like physically, emotionally, mentally?
Oh, these are such good questions. So postpartum recovery is such a cliche topic, right? Because we think that once the baby is out, we are good and life is good and all is good. But as moms, we know that physically it takes at least 6 weeks to recover after having a baby. And your body really is never the same, let's be honest. But emotionally, the hormone fluctuations that happen postpartum, at birth, and then after postpartum, you can, suffer that emotional turmoil for weeks after. Some people call it baby blues. Mentally, the postpartum period starts when you're pregnant, as soon as you find out you're pregnant, and lasts until a year after you give birth. So working with women who have any postpartum depression or postpartum mental health disorders, that's what we're talking about, that time, that from the moment they found out they're pregnant until a year after. And say you got pregnant within a year, after that year, then the postpartum period can just keep continuing.
Just never ends.
Yeah.
I don't think my postpartum period ended for 5 years.
I had 3 kids in 3 years. I felt the same way.
I did too, because we have twins. So we had one, and then 18 months later we had 2 more. So I don't know that I was mentally ready to live my life again until I was about 5 years out.
Right. There is a kind of grit that it takes to make it through those first years as a mom, definitely.
Yeah. So that leads into our next question. So why do so many moms feel pressure to bounce back instead of resting and healing?
This is a good one, right? Because I feel like society tells us that, right? Mm-hmm. The Leave It to Beaver shows. Let's just go back many years and see the moms that are dressed to the kill with the supper on the table as the spouse comes home with a smile on their face, with the baby that's smiling, right? But I think in today's world, us moms are juggling many, many, many hats. And those hats, a lot of times with having a baby, they don't come off. There's still work. There's still the responsibilities. You still have a partner. And so I feel like society doesn't give us the time nowadays to actually soak in those moments postpartum. And a lot of times postpartum depression can go hand in hand with overwhelm, which is a big feeling that a lot of moms experience after having a baby. And I think it's because of all those hats that they wear.
So taking that postpartum depression topic and kind of figuring out things that help with that or possibly contribute to that? How would isolation and needing to build a village around you play a part in that?
So yeah, science shows I'm just studying to become a certified postpartum educator. So I'm all geeked out on the science nowadays, but that disharmony in relationships is the number one cause. It can be the number one cause for postpartum depression symptoms, but also social isolation and lack of a village.
Mhm.
And so I really believe that we have to go back to the olden days of the women getting together during the day and washing their clothes at the water in town together and really get that village around us. And right now, I feel like as women, we're really separated. There's many different types of women, many different types of moms, the working moms, the stay-at-home moms, the homeschooling moms, the schooling moms, and I think it's time to bring us all back together in order to help create that village to help combat that isolation that can happen with postpartum, and especially with having any increased symptoms of postpartum depression.
And I think something that I noticed in healthcare in general, especially working with families, is that it's a lack of education of the spouse's level of education on the matter too, of what postpartum depression is, how the chemicals work in the brain, and what they can do to support.
Yes. So yeah, you know, 1 in 10 men experience postpartum depression, which was such a shocker for me. But they say if your wife or significant other has postpartum depression, you have a 50% chance of having it yourself.
Mm.
So is depression catchy, or is there a lot of underlying issues along with it?
Right.
And I really believe that by being really raw and honest and having a partner that you can be really raw and honest with and express your needs and concerns and sort of try to combat as a team really helps.
Yeah, and I think if you think about it, most likely they have common stressors that are happening that they're experiencing separately, but at the same time.
Right.
And so that makes sense that they would also have risk for depression because they're going through a lot of the same things,
Right.
Environmentally.
Right. So on a personal level, I have 3 adult kids, and then we just adopted our little guy from foster care. He's 2.5. And so even though I did not birth him naturally, we still have the postpartum period, right? Postpartum is not just for the mom. It's not just for the pregnancy. It's actually just the period.
Right.
Grandparents can have postpartum parents, fathers. And so 20 years later, I'm raising another child. And it's super interesting to me how in my 20s mom and in my 40s mom is way different. And the truth is, I've just been able to be honest with my spouse about how do we do this together?
Yeah.
Instead of putting on that mentality of going it alone and doing it alone. And we're the mom, so we can do it. And also along the lines of maybe I know more than my spouse does how to take care, maybe a little pride in there of, maybe I know, or maybe I'm smarter, or maybe he should listen to me more when it comes to that, mother's instinct. And
I think that it took me a long time too to figure out that by trying to do it all myself, I was robbing my spouse of the opportunity to help me.
Yes.
And so a lot of the things that I was frustrated with were actually my own doing.
Yeah. Right. That's exactly it. It
wasn't that he wasn't willing to help with certain things, or, it was that I was like, no, I need to do it. And my spouse actually helped with everything. So it was like housework and things like that. I thought that I needed to be the one to do it. And so now that we have more of a balance, I think it would go a lot better having a small child at home.
Right. And when you're in that mentality, you're robbing yourself of that period.
Right. Yeah.
And also that connection with your child of that period too.
Yeah.
So it's super important to be able to have a relationship that is raw and honest and is built on working together in harmony as a team.
Right.
And being able to share what you're feeling and share what you need, both of you.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Postpartum Together does work. We meet monthly and we talk about many different topics, but we definitely talk about relationships a lot because relationships are that important
Right.
when
So
you're
let's talk
postpartum.
about in our area, we're a rural area, so we have a lot of people that come here from other states or move here for oil or for different professions, and so then they're not always by their family or their network or their village, so they, you know, rely on these programs to be able to build that village. But what other ways can you think of that they'd be able to kind of network and figure out who else is in the area that they can talk to?
Yeah. Yeah, good question. So I'm really happy to say that Women Empowering Women has a awesome mother and baby resource guide that just came out this last fall, I think, filled with different resources for moms and babies. So you can pick that up at one of our Postpartum Together meetups. But there's many things in the Dickinson community that offer support for moms. You know, we have the local rec center that has moms and babies classes, fitness classes to move your body, has toddler little classes for little kids. We have, have the new, is it the Science Museum has a weekly fun family gathering.
Mhm.
And I honestly think that even just being able to um, put yourself out there and show up amongst the community as you are
Right.
will help you find the people that you need. You know, local church.
Mhm.
If you have a local church, I think that that's another good factor to factor in. But we saw the need in North Dakota. We knew that we are a state that have people coming and going and many different kinds of people, and a lot of us don't have families.
Right.
And so reaching out for that support looks different for a lot of us. So what does that look like? Is it even your daycare, or is it do you have a rented grandma that you met down the street, or,
Mhm.
but really it is putting yourself out there and looking amongst the community to say, okay, what can help me and my family, right? What can
Right.
help me so I can be a better person for me and my family at this time.
And we're, transports. We came from Colorado, so there's things that we see here that there are people that will help. There are so
Yeah.
many resources. One of the things that really shocked us was like the Facebook groups where they're like, "Hey, is anyone going to Bismarck? Could they bring a computer for me to this place?" And like people are just so helpful
Yes.
that to even think to post something like that and know that people are going to show up for you
Yeah.
is something kind of rare that our area has.
Yeah, I remember, um, so you've been doing Postpartum Together, which is like a monthly meetup for moms, for the last about almost year and a half now. And I remember sending Braxton a little message because I knew it was really working when I
Mhm.
saw two moms come into the rec center and take a workout class together with their babies. And they didn't know each other before,
Right.
but Postpartum Together, this little class brought them together. And I knew personally that this mom was struggling, and this woman came alongside of her, and there they were with her two toddlers working out. And I thought, this is good. This
Yeah.
is good. This is what moms need. You know, when it comes to depression, alienation, and like withdrawing is a horrible symptom of depression.
Mhm.
And so how can we combat that, especially when you may not have that family and resources? And I'm really grateful to be a part of what Western North Dakota is doing right now.
So, talking about postpartum depression, what
Yeah.
are some early signs of postpartum depression and anxiety that moms and partners should watch for?
Yeah. So a lot of people know about the baby blues, right? So it's the lots of emotions going on. It can, start anytime from a couple days after delivery until a few weeks. Highs and lows, laughing and crying, feeling exhausted, of course, because brand new baby. So that's the baby blues, and baby blues are normal. 60 to
Right.
80% of women have baby blues. And so when we talk about depression, we talk usually about um, after that 2 to 3 week period, but it could come on earlier than that. But the symptoms are more severe. Um, you are, having a hard time doing your activities of daily living. You're having a hard time taking care of yourself and your baby. You're not sleeping, even though I know that's a hard thing to say with babies, right? But you're not being able to fall asleep or stay asleep if you are sleeping and baby is sleeping. Your eating habits have changed. You find yourself just depressed and isolated, and or even just the exact opposite. Like when we think of postpartum, we just think of postpartum depression, but there is a whole slew of mental health diagnoses that come with postpartum. There is postpartum anxiety, there's postpartum rage, there can be postpartum psychosis. So anything that is, like I said, anything that is affecting your daily living, that is that's not doesn't sit right with you, you should be contacting your doctor to say, is this normal? And we do have we do test now for postpartum depression when it comes to when you see your OB after you have a baby. But sometimes with even the lack of resources in our community, the lack of counseling appointments available, sometimes people can fall sort of through those cracks. So it really is important to sort of take care of your own mental health and try to be your own mental health advocate if you can.
And I think that goes back to really educating the spouse as well of what to watch for
Yeah.
and what's normal and what maybe we need to, make an appointment for.
Yeah, and I think it's also important to, if the spouse can, to join in on those
Right.
appointments, right?
Yeah.
Postpartum, to have a new, fresh set of eyes, because sometimes moms are unable to see clearly of actually what's going on, or they
Right.
don't think it's as bad. Looking back for myself, even just taking all this education, I can say that I suffered with some postpartum, and I didn't even know it at that time. But looking at my symptoms and looking back and doing some reflection on those years, I just thought they were hard years, but I wasn't really happy a lot of the time.
Right.
So I'm a firm believer in educating and advocating more on this important topic. People say, take care of your heart and what's your blood pressure, and you could get a blood clot after you have a baby and all these things. But the truth is, postpartum depression kills more moms than any physical disease out there. Mental health is that important in this vulnerable period, and because of that, I think that these conversations have to keep happening.
So kind of on the lines of that, what emotional support what should it look like beyond the call me if you need anything? Like,
Yeah.
what should we really be saying to moms or doing for them? Or
Right.
how should we be showing up for them?
Right. So the whole call me if you need me, they're not going to call.
No.
Let's be honest.
They're not calling.
We're a bunch of like Western North Dakota farmers. Like we have some kind of Scandinavian in us most likely, and we just we buckle up and we do it. Or otherwise we pretend that we're fine and we're not. So yeah, no, you should call,
Yes.
right?
Or just show up.
Or just show up.
And tell
Yes.
them, okay, go take a shower because I'm going to hold your baby while you take a nap in a shower.
Right. Or hashtag bring a lasagna.
Yes.
So
Come over and do their dishes.
Right. There is so Postpartum International is the one certification program that is offered throughout the world right now. And they do have a 24/7 hotline that is available 365, 1-800-944-4773. And they are available day and night, 365. They have trained volunteers that answer the call and sort of, make sure that you have enough resources before you get off the phone to be okay. But I honestly believe in a more intimate setting, right? It's what we saw. We saw the two moms come together and go to the workout class together, right? So really asking how can I help them right now?
Mm-hmm.
And those words, call me if you need anything. Them are such triggering words for me because that's not what a mom needs. A mom needs just someone to show up and say, take a shower. I got the baby.
Yeah.
Or here, let me put some soup on the stove.
Right.
Or
Something.
Yeah. Or here, let me hold your hand. And
or let me take your other kids.
Yeah. Let's have a cup of coffee and talk about this,
Yeah.
So
are there any practical exercises or check-ins moms can do to kind of check in with themselves and see where their emotional well-being is at?
During my 15 years, I also took a year-long life coaching certification. And I really love this practice. It's the calendar practice. And so it's every day as you're going to bed, you go to your calendar and you put down the emotion that you felt mostly throughout the day. So was it happy? Was it sad? Was it calm? Was it anxious? And if you ever have 3 days in a row of that emotion, then maybe it's time to reach out to somebody. So that's a good check-in of actually how am I doing and how am I feeling right now? And I know that as moms, right, we have all these different hormones that we're blessed with, and we can be really sensitive to emotions, and a lot of our life can be a roller coaster. We can experience many things throughout the day, right? Lots of
Right.
highs and lows, but overall, when you sit in overall, how am I doing today? What does today look like? What did today look like for me?
Right. And
Um,
if you use that as like a exercise with your partner, and you both wrote down how what your emotion was on calendars and could see each other's calendars, like how powerful would that be to open up that dialogue to be able to have those conversations?
yeah, yeah, like, oh, this day, this is what happened, and
Right.
um, so when it comes to postpartum, I always think of these, risk factors that you have. If you have a risk of, previous mental health, if you have a family history of mental health, if you've had multiple births, if you have had a traumatic birth, there's many different risk factors. But there
Mhm.
also is this social economical risk factor. Like, are bills an issue in your life?
Right.
Do you have a support system? Are you doing this alone? Is your partner available? And um, we're really blessed to have oil here in Western North Dakota. But alongside of that comes many hours of spouses and partners working and being gone all throughout the day and night. So
That's kind of another topic that we wanted to just bring up is how can moms manage their task list, of the things they have to do if their spouse does, have to work away from home or isn't at home, the majority of the hours that they're needing help,
right,
then how do they manage that task list?
right. So I think realistic expectations. So I always say three things. What are your top three for the day? And write yourself a list and try to get those done. And if it's just small, wash my hair.
Right.
Right? So then instead of maybe falling asleep and jumping on social media, actually, I'm gonna go wash my hair,
Yeah.
right? So sort of setting yourself up to almost coach yourself throughout the day and giving yourself, especially postpartum, when you're juggling becoming a new mom and the needs of your baby, those three little small tasks. We're not
Mhm.
talking about, cleaning the whole house top to bottom,
Right.
but three small little tasks that you can try to get done throughout that day.
I read this book. It was called Sink Reflections, and it actually had where this mom, her one task she did a day was clean her sink every night. Like even if the counters were a disaster and everything else was a mess in her house and the laundry wasn't done and the kids weren't, everything was out of place, the sink would be clean in the morning.
Love it.
And it was the one thing that like reset her day,
Yeah, clean your head, clean sink, I
Yeah.
guess. I love that. I
And
love that.
then the other thing was to start the day, put shoes that you have to tie on
Yes, yes.
because you're not going to go sit on the couch. You're not going to go lay down or, do anything that's unproductive when you have shoes on.
Yeah,
You're much more likely to get some stuff done
right.
and to feel like you're motivated.
Yes, for sure, for sure. And I think that the basic, like going back to your basic needs,
Mhm.
are you drinking enough water? Right?
Right.
Protein is essential to be having after you have a baby. They say protein is like can help actually combat any mental health. So, are you getting enough protein? Are you outside at all? Can you bundle
Right.
up that baby and go outside even for a little bit? Right?
Mhm.
Can you take it for a walk around the block? Nothing major, but just getting outside and smelling those outdoors and feeling that sun on you most days, right? But yeah, and are you drinking enough water? So that food, clothing, exercise, shelter, like really going back to that basics of taking care of you so you can take care of baby.
Right. And I think all of those things just kind of help moms feel grounded or like they're being successful and they don't get as much shame that comes with the I didn't get this done today or I didn't get that done today or all I did was hold the baby today.
Yeah.
There's a lot less shame coming along with those feelings of when you feel like you've done something that was beneficial for yourself too.
So there's a new girl on American Idol. Her name is Hannah Harper. Have you heard of her?
No.
Oh, okay. Go home and look her up.
Okay.
But Hannah Harper is on American Idol right now, and she made a song called String Cheese. And it's a song about her being in the throes of motherhood and suffering from postpartum depression and sitting on the couch and um, feeling the pity and feeling the sadness and feeling the depression. And she said she was just feeling sorry for herself. And her kid kept coming up to her and saying, "Mom, can you open my string cheese? Mom, can you open my string cheese?" And she's just like, just just get off me. I don't even want anybody to, like, I just need time. She's just feeling overwhelmed with life. And she said in that moment, the song came to her and she realized that this was her mission in life, was to be this mom and open up the string cheese for her kid. And so now she's going amongst millions of people and talking about her journey through postpartum depression, her finding her role and her value in motherhood. And she is singing it out. And she has this most beautiful voice. And I just find it just so amazingly awesome because, like I said, we all have this pride slash stigma about being a mom and thinking like we need to act like we have it all together.
Right.
And the minute that we can finally say, hey, I'm struggling too, or hey, this is hard, or hey, like I know I'm supposed to be really grateful that I have this blessing, but today it feels really overwhelming.
Yeah.
We start losing the shame amongst being moms and starting to talk real and honest and raw. And I think that being a mom is all of it, right? Being a mom is this paradox of beauty and mess and joy and grief and it's a constant ebb and flow of all those feelings, no matter how old your kids are. I have kids in my 20s and I have a 2-year-old. But being able to say like it also is really hard, especially postpartum.
I think even now my kids are 14 and 16 and I just now got to the point where I can verbalize I'm overstimulated, I'm overwhelmed, and I need a minute. And then now my kids are old enough to where they're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And they just walk away. And I'm like, was it always that easy? Could I have just said this?
I know.
Because I didn't know that.
I always told my kids, I'm probably not going to pay for your college, but I'll pay for your therapy because I'm sure I will send you there,
Okay, so kind of in closing, if a mom's listening right now and feels like she's in the thick of postpartum, what are 3 things she can do today to feel supported?
So come join us at Postpartum together. We'd love to have you. We meet, there's a Facebook page that we have that will tell you the days that we meet on, but it's just a really cool group of women that come together with their babies. And I get to lead these women through some kind of fun little exercise that we work on. I know this month we're talking about postpartum rage, but each month we do a different topic. And along with it, you'll meet a bunch of women who are in the thick of it with you. And I'm sure you'll meet a friend along the way. Number 2, if you're really in the thick of it and you're feeling like, I don't even know if tomorrow I'll be okay, call the hotline. It's open 24/7.
Yeah.
But number 3 is reach out, like open up and be honest. And, remember that it does take a village to raise kids and don't feel shame about that at all. When you're taking care of you is when you're modeling, taking care. When you're taking care of you can take care of your baby. And when a mom models taking care of herself, then kids take care of themselves too. Sort of like a domino effect. So,
and spouses as well,
Yes.
they see that like you're going to exercise, they start working on their mental health and their physical health and it's a whole cycle of everyone taking care of themselves then.
Yeah, definitely.
So what advice would you give partners, friends, or family on how to help these women?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that sticking along with them for the ride, definitely. I think that being right next to them and showing them as much support and love as you can. And also being able to be as honest and real as you can. But keeping along that same truth of it takes a village and you're right next to you're one of the leaders of the village. So how can you help? And asking that question, how can I help? How can I help tonight? I remember when my kids were little, my husband I had a really rough day and somehow I used to bake when I was anxious and had a rough day. So he knew what kind of day I had with how much bakery was on the table when he came home from work. But he came home and I think I had 3 or 4 different kinds of bakery on the table. And he's like, I'm just going to go put the bath going. And so it's just as simple as that, right? Like I'm going to take the kids and I'm just going to go put the bath going. It's not a grandiose thing. Take your wife on a vacation or take your partner to, here they're on a hot date. No, it's the simple everyday moments that she needs support with. So, yeah.
Yeah. Clean her sink.
Yes. There you go. Clean your sink. I love that.
Yeah. Okay. So I think that it's really important for moms to also know that going to a healthcare provider can also help, and just making sure that they know that there's resources for them, and that the healthcare provider can sometimes give some of these tips in the moment, can recognize when they're past that baby blue stage, and knowing that you have providers out there that are looking for these things is really important too.
I agree. I mean, there are many tools in the toolkit of postpartum
Right.
depression and mental health symptoms, right? And medication is also one of them that your provider can prescribe for you, and counseling, many different kinds of counseling.
Right.
I think adding that toolkit together and really surrounding somebody with support is the key to a happy postpartum for mom and baby.
So one last question.
Yeah.
How can listeners get connected to Postpartum Together?
We have a Facebook page, and then every month it tells we usually meet on Thursdays in the middle of the month.
Okay, well, thank you for coming.
Yeah, thank you for
We didn't
having
even
me.
cry.
I know.
We did good. A couple teary-eye moments, but we're good. Okay, well, until next time, stay informed, stay empowered, and we'll see you on the next Empower ND podcast.